So as I usually do every single format, I will be covering the best applications for Super Poly, as well as the best decks it can be used against. Do take note, however, that Super Poly's relevance is directly proportionate to the amount of free extra deck space that you can afford to have in your deck. So in other words, if your extra deck literally does not matter, like Eldritch for example, and you have like freaking 10 free spots, well, you can fit in so many cards that you have answers to just about any scenario. However, the good news is, even if you only have like 2 or 3 free spots in your extra deck, Super Poly can still perform really well. Okay, so the first Super Poly target we will be covering today will be the new TCG exclusive, which is Garura, Wings of Resonant Life. It doesn't have the best effect or the best stats out there, even though its effect is actually not too bad. Main thing that really matters is how you summon it. So you need 2 monsters with the same attribute, so very similar to MUDRAGON of the Swamp, but unlike MUDRAGON of the Swamp, they have to be the same type as well, and with different names. This makes Garura arguably the most splashable Super Poly target of all time and the most generic because it can be used against just about any cohesive archetype out there. Against Blight, you can either fuse away the Toad as well as the Dupe Frog, or the Swap Frog if they wanted to summon it with the effect of Toad in the standby phase, or if they're not doing that, then you can fuse away the Splight Elf as well as the Carrot or Red that they summon off of starter or that they searched and summon on their own turn. Either way, you're taking care of 2 negates with 1 single Super Poly, and you're summoning a monster that's also going to be drawing a card whenever it hits the graveyard, so even with like Nadir Servant and Dogmatica Punishment, this card is still incredibly good. And against Exorcister, this card is also relatively good because you can fuse away 2 Xyz monsters as soon as the second one gets summoned, so your opponent actually has to go neg a lot, and might actually have to pass turn there, or you can fuse away like 2 main deck monsters, for example, that were summoned off of Vadis. Alright, next up on the list is MUDRAGON of the Swamp, which is a little less generic, but still relatively good, and its effect might not be the best, but it could help you play through hand traps sometimes. Against your elements, it could be pretty nice because you could fuse away, let's say, the Winda as well as the Dragostapelia because both of them are dark, but they're not the same type, Dragostapelia being plant and Winda being spellcaster. And speaking of Dragostapelia, that monster just happens to be a Super Poly target, as well as a monster that the Tier Elements deck is consistently summoning, as well as Despia. So you can fuse away their negates to make your own negate, jump over a monster, etc. So you can transform Super Poly into kind of like a Lava Golem and a Pankratops at the same time. In theory, you could also run Starving Venom and Predaplant Trifuverdum. It's just that Starving Venom doesn't have like the best negation effect, so it's really just a board breaking card. It's still relatively good though, and then Trifuverdum is 3 dark monsters, so might be a little harder to summon, but if you can summon it, it's ridiculously good. And if your deck also plays Predator counters, such as, you know, the Predaplant deck for example, you could OTK your opponent in literally 2 seconds. It also has like a Solemn Warning-esque effect, which could honestly come up sometimes, so definitely don't sleep on the card. Alright, another relatively cute Super Poly target that you could run, not necessarily super relevant, that would be Dragon Knight Draco Equist, I believe that's the name of the card. You need a Dragon Synchro monster with a Warrior monster to make the card. You can fuse away, let's say, Baron de Fleur, as well as Borlode Savage, Shooting Riser Dragon, or Chaos Ruler, and its effects might not be the best, but it's still relatively decent. Okay, this one is one of my personal favorites, and I believe that this can finally be good again, or rather good for the first time, and it's Cordius the Triphasic Daemon. Its materials are kind of cracked, I'm not gonna lie. You need an Xyz, a Link, and a Synchro monster, so you can already imagine how difficult this card is to bring out. However, there are some Splight versions that are playing Baron de Fleur in their deck with Yamatako or Roshi, so sometimes they end on Elf, Baron, and Toad, so you can Super Poly everything away for Cordius, and the effect of Cordius the Triphasic Daemon is ridiculously absurd because you can pay up to 6k life points in order to apply up to 3 effects. So recycle back 1 spell or trap card from the grave to the hand, destroy 3 cards your opponent controls, as well as gain attack equal to the difference between both players' life points, very similarly to Psychic and Punisher. So yeah, it gets rid of 3 monsters, it's a one-punch man, recycles back the Super Poly that you used to make it. What else could you ask for? Now, one of the most hilarious Super Poly targets out there might not be really intended to be used as a Super Poly target, but might as well kind of think about it because it is Punk Rising Carp. So if you're, let's say, in a Punk Mirror match, you can fuse away your opponent's Punk cards, summon this, and then unbrick, get your engine started, summon Deer Note and Xiamen, and make your Chaos Ruler OTK your opponent off of their own cards. Finally, some less relevant Super Poly targets, I'm not gonna lie, would maybe be the DDD Fusion, as well as the Plunder Patrol ship list that requires 2 Plunder Patrol monsters on the field, so it could be nice against Plunder Patrol. And then we have the Hero Fusion. Some of them require like 2 or 3 hero monsters. The Fire Fist Fusion monster, which requires 2 Beast Warrior monsters. Mysterion the Dragon Crown, which needs a Spellcaster and a Dragon monster. And finally, Dragon Necro Nether Soul Dragon, as well as the Eldritch Fusion monster that requires like a zombie monster and either another zombie monster or Eldritch itself. But yeah, if I had to narrow it down to the 3 most important Super Poly targets, I would definitely have to include Garura, Mudragon of the Swamp, and either Dragostapelia or Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. What do you guys think about Super Poly? Do you think it's the best card of the format, or at least board breaking wise? Do you think Dark Ruler is better? Do you think Kaiju's Lava Golem and Sphere Mode are better? Do you think Ultimate Slayer is better? Or do you think hand traps overall are better as an approach than board breaking cards? Let me know your thoughts about everything in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.